Hey, good morning, everybody. Can you hear me okay? Live from the road. I should have turned my camera on. You can see us sitting up on the bed. OJ did so good last night. My goodness. We're heading to Nashville. Going to meet up with everybody for Crime Con. Then do a turnaround and go back home. Had a little change of plans yesterday. You know, Greg's on the road. He's working. So instead of going up to Minnesota and then back down, we get to go through hot Atlanta. That is one of Greg's least favorite places to drive through. So that was the cherry on the top of his Monday. And yeah, in the beginning, oh, there my kitty right there. He being so good. Yeah, look at that. Oh, he knows what's going on. He heard the music. Normally when he hears the music, he goes, oh, hell, here she goes again. She hasn't solved one yet, but hey, try again. Well, we know what today is. It is hump day. Let's take a second and talk about a few people that cannot sit with us. But first, we got to celebrate hump day.
Oh, guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Huh? Anybody? Julie, hey, guess what day it is? Oh, come on, I know you can hear me. Mike. What day is it, Mike? Leslie, guess what today is?
It's hump day.
It's hump day. And I'm telling you what, some of these people make themselves more obvious every day. Who can sit with us and who can't? Oh my goodness. We came across a couple of yesterday. Man, I'm going to post something to the members tab after this, but I'm going to give a heads up. You'll have to see it for yourself on the members tab. Beware of anyone that is getting into your DMs pretending to be Daisy that wants to massage you. It is a long story. We will have to discuss members only. But we know who can sit with us. Oh, I'm not fetched today. I don't have my pink on. Ooh, I didn't pack for it. That's what happens when you just throw stuff in the bag right before you walk out the door. But it's okay. I've done worse. All right. Watched a lot of the trial yesterday. State versus Christopher Greger. First-degree murder against his son, Corey. They didn't just have any doctor come up to debunk, which is a big YouTube word. Gonna debunk this. It's time we debunk this. Let's put this to rest and get it debunked. Now, some will say that the state chewed him up, but a lot of the experts are saying if you saw the jury's face, you would see that they were on his every word. Well, one thing we have been talking about for quite a while before we get to that is, will the abuser, monster dad, treadmill Nazi, whatever you want to call him, the defendant, will he testify? Nah. He doesn't have the cojones. And the state knows more than even is being presented. They know more. Doesn't mean they can bring it up. But they've got something that they can twist on him. And the defense knows it. That's just my opinion. And let's face it. He's been coached well his entire life. But he will not be taking the stand. I have a feeling we're going to be going into closing arguments soon. And I hope we have a verdict by the end of the week. And I hope it goes the way, well, we see it. Let's start with Monster will not testify.
Charged with the first-degree murder of his son, Corey Micholo.
An initial autopsy found the boy died from blunt force trauma and lacerations of the heart and liver. Gregor's accused of making his 6-year-old run on a treadmill that was set at a very high speed because he believed the boy was, quote, too fat. As you see in this video, the little boy falls over and over a total of 6 times, and each time the father forces him to get back on the speeding machine. 13 days after this video was recorded, the little boy was dead. News Nation investigative correspondent Rich McHugh was in the courtroom in Toms River today, and he joins us live. Rich, what do we know about this little boy's death?
Hi, Elizabeth. Well, we've obviously seen this video of this disturbing treadmill incident 2 weeks after this incident where the boy was forced to run and run against his will. The father, Gregor, says his son Corey woke up from a nap, disoriented. He took him to the hospital, and ultimately, he says at the hospital he had a seizure and died. That's where he says he died. That part's not disputed. I want to read. The medical examiner at the time issued findings on the cause of death, blunt force trauma, lacerations on his liver, and also sepsis. The medical examiner did not determine how Corey died at that time. Several months later, a forensic pathologist reviewed the case and did rule the death a homicide, and that's when Gregor was charged, Elizabeth.
Corey's father, Christopher Gregor, is on trial for endangering the welfare of a child and first-degree murder. But it's been a bit of he said, she said between him and Corey's mother, Bree. What are they each saying?
So she said that she has reported his abuse over 100 times to Child Protective Services. She's ultimately, I believe, suing New Jersey Child Protective Services over this. A few days after the death, he was caught in speeding in Alcoa, Tennessee. Why he was there, it's unclear. But he was caught speeding, and on body cam, he was basically recorded saying, ultimately placing the blame of this death on at his mother's feet, saying she's the one who did this. So he said, she said.
And then we thought, Christopher, and by the way, Rich, do we have any idea why Child Protective Services was called more than 100 times? Did they ever go and investigate what was going on in the home, what Christopher Gregor or even Bree were doing? I think it was Bree who made those calls, right?
Well, they both made those calls. He was calling on her as well. And they're right. It was a he said, she said. And that's why this trial is so convoluted, because it is a trial of which expert are you going to believe? Are you going to believe what the state is saying? Are you going to believe all the pictures that Bree took? Look at that bruise on his side. That's a deep, deep bruise. Look at his little forehead. Look at that eye. That's a lot of pressure on a little boy's eye. Look at that bite mark. I had someone in comments correct me and say, no, kids do bite themselves. To me, that just doesn't look like he could get his head there, and it just looks too big to be a little boy's mouth. I mean, I'm not a scientist, not a doctor, but there's my uneducated opinion for you. This is what the autopsy said after the forensic pathologist got a hold of it. This guy's no dummy. Multiple contusions with different stages of duration, epicardial contusion with myocardial laceration with acute inflammatory reaction. This is where they're really having the pissing match and confusing the jury. You have one side saying he died of a major infection, i.e. sepsis, or as Dr. Baden said yesterday, rapid pneumonia. That is from number 3, small, superficial laceration of the liver with inflammatory reaction, and there's evidence of sepsis. This is the big one for them. This is what they really are arguing about. We had Corey's grandmother in chat on Monday. She made that, as Mr. Proudfeet says, crystal clear. And then number 4, visceral congestion. In other words, wounds that a little boy should never have unless he was in a head-on damn collision.
We don't. I mean, I've read parts of this, and there's an accusation that there's drugs involved in somewhere in this chain, and so that may be the reason that they did not take this seriously, but I haven't personally confirmed that. No, Elizabeth.
Because it's a shocking thing that Chap.
Crud, I was muted. All right, so Mr. Anchorman, he hasn't really been following the trial. Yeah, drugs have been brought up a lot, or as we have to say on YouTube, rugs, because you know you guys aren't old enough to hear the word that starts with a D. Might make you go out there and try it. You never know. Anyway, that was a big part of it, because all they had to do was bring up her history with a substance issue, and it just wasn't taken as seriously as it should have been. Obviously.
Protective Services would get that many calls about the welfare of a child and would not go and investigate. In the meantime, Christopher Gregor announced very late today he was not going to testify in his own defense. Do you have any more information on why he came to that decision?
He didn't say, but ultimately, when he got up and said he was not going to testify, there was kind of an audible gasp. I think the courtroom and everybody in the court was expecting him to testify and pretty much hoping that he would. His attorney said, look, it's well within his rights not to testify, and they told the jury that. Also, what happened today, though, is both sides were able to question Dr. Michael Baden. You know Dr. Michael Baden, he's a famed pathologist. He was brought in as an expert witness for the defense. Here is the back and forth between the prosecution and defense asking him. He had previously said he believed the child died from rapid onset pneumonia, but here's both sides.
So, doctor, just so I understand, you have concluded that Corey had pneumonia and sepsis, and you base this upon a post-mortem CT scan interpreted by a clinical radiologist.
I'm certain he didn't die of the heart and liver and lung injury. I think the most likely cause of death is some kind of pneumonia that developed that evening after he went to a number of hospitals where he could have picked up that bacteria. But that's the most likely, but I'm not saying it's definite.
Did any...
Okay, this statement is going to weigh in with somebody on that jury. Okay? Gregor's character to the side, we're talking about murder. I know how we feel in here. We could be the jury easily. Actually, they wouldn't let us be a juror, okay? No way. We talk too much. That's going to weigh in with someone because they're making it a point to remind everybody that his blood work was normal. Normal. There was no sign of infection. There was nothing wrong with him. That blood work was of a newborn baby. It was great. So between this clinic and that hospital and all that rigmarole, he could easily have picked up a rapid pneumonia. Remember, the old COVID was going on, etc., etc. And he took a major turn for the worse. And they're making a point to say the treadmill video was several days before he passed away from this, in quotes, rapid pneumonia. Hey, we see it in Facebook groups. We see it in comment sections. There are some really goofy ass people out there. All right? Don't think there isn't going to be one goofball on that damn jury. And it is scaring the hell out of me. See, this is who needs to be the jury foreman, our girl Susan. She said pneumonia wouldn't have lacerated his heart. That's what I'm talking about. How are you going to get away with that? How are you going to get past this? Okay, the different bruises. They can explain that away. Boys will be boys. Contusion, epicardial contusion with a laceration. That's his little heart. A superficial laceration on his liver. How are you going to get that? Can't explain that one away, in my opinion.
Of the bruising have anything whatsoever to do with Corey's death?
No.
Now that Gregor said he is not going to testify, they're going to move on tomorrow to closing arguments and deliberations, and there's no telling, Elizabeth, how long those deliberations might take.
Thanks so much for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.
Woohoo! Don't forget to hit the like Chrissy said. Mrs. Amir, me love you. She said he's got no balls. That's why he was terrorizing sweet little Corey. Question is, why was he terrorizing his son the way he did? Now, he had a huge resentment about child support. He had a huge resentment about Bree when he found out he had fathered a child with her. As you remember in the trial, she talked about when she would go to events where they were both present. He did not want to be seen with her. He would say, "You're too trashy," and stuff like that. You know, in his mind, I come from the right side of the tracks. You don't. You were somebody I hooked up with one time, and now I've got this. I've got this kid. And he's the only thing in this world that you want. And I'm going to make sure you don't have him. Also, you have a huge jealousy that Christopher Gregor has with his own father. You see, his father raised him a lot like how he was attempting to raise Corey. Well, then he sees his father with Corey, and his father's not that way with Corey. He's your regular old grandpa, okay? He's spoiling him. He doesn't care if he has ice cream for breakfast. He's just a kid. Let him play. That irked his nerves because he's such a damn man baby. Such a damn man baby. And now that I think about it, how stupid was it of me to think that he would actually take the stand when he couldn't even be in the hospital to be with his son as his little soul was leaving his body to go to heaven. No, he got in his car and he hightailed it to another state to hide out. Vanessa, she gets it. She goes, from a grandparent's perspective, I get it. And she's like, I dig it. As an adult child's perspective, though, we don't. It's always kind of been a laughing joke amongst adults. We're like, hell, didn't know my parents had money till I had grandkids. Shit. Didn't know they could be so nice until the grandkids came along. But he resented it. He was losing the golden boy status. And don't think he didn't fight tooth and nail to say Corey wasn't his. Let me tell you. All right, we're going to go through some of what Dr. Baden, and some people say this guy is a quack. Whatever you think of him, we're not on the jury. I can tell you hands down, he has flipped many juries. And him explaining to this jury, listen, he picked up some sort of infection between all this running from this clinic to this hospital to everything. And that is what killed him. It only takes one. You're not going to convince me, but I'm not on the jury. Listen to what they had to hear yesterday.
Discuss the case of the death of Corey Mitchell, did I not?
Yes,
Okay, and did you review materials that I sent you with an eye towards rendering an opinion as to the cause and manner of death of Corey Mitchell?
yes,
Okay. And did you prepare a report of your findings and opinions regarding Corey's death?
I did.
Now, did you perform the autopsy in this case?
No,
Although you did not perform the autopsy, were you able to develop an opinion as to the cause and manner of death?
yes,
Do you know who did perform the autopsy in this case?
Dr. Ragasa.
Okay. Did you review the autopsy report prepared by Dr. Ragasa?
Absolutely,
And
yes.
do you know when that was prepared?
Yes, that autopsy was done 14 hours after the death of Corey.
Okay. Did you also review medical records from IV Pediatrics?
Yes,
Did you review medical records from Community Medical Health Hospital?
I did.
Did you review medical records from Jersey Shore Medical Center?
Yes,
Did you review medical records from Southern State Medical Center?
yes,
Did you review what's called histological slides?
yes.
And what are those?
Those are glass slides that most people come in contact with in school, where very thin slices of tissue are placed on and can be viewed under a microscope in order to increase the ability to see what's present. And that's commonly, those slides are commonly made in autopsies, after autopsies of the various tissues that are seen with the naked eye, because they give more information when seen under very much higher magnification.
Did you review the autopsy photos?
Yes,
Did you review any police documentation?
yes,
Did you review a 33-second video that was taken on April 2nd, 2021?
yes,
Okay. Did you review a photograph of Corey asleep in his father's arms on April 2nd, 2021 at approximately 2:02 in the afternoon?
yes,
Did you review a Dr. Andrew report?
I did.
Did you review a Dr. Feingold's report?
Yes,
Did you review a video of a treadmill from a gym on March 20th of 2021?
yes,
Did you review an additional video from the same gym taken on March 29th, 2021?
I did.
Now, do you have an opinion after you reviewed all the material in regard to Corey's cause of death?
I do.
Can you tell the jurors what that opinion is as to Corey's cause of death?
I think that Corey's cause of death has been confused because of extensive injuries caused by the CPR process. That I agree with a part of Dr. Ragasa's cause of death that indicates injuries to the heart and other organs, which I think is are typical vigorous CPR injuries.
Okay. This got someone's attention. Remember, there's people in the courtroom, and they, their peripheral is going over to the jury. This really got them. Hospitals have been sued, believe it or not. How it happens, I'll never know. For cracking ribs, lung damage, etc., from CPR. He's saying that this laceration to the heart and liver, because we're not talking about a 6'6" man, we're talking about a little boy. And it's from CPR. I really wish they would do this like cage match style, like they do, the presidential debates in a way, and have the other pathologists up there going, yo, man, you know better than that. You also know you're getting paid by the friggin' minute. By the way, yesterday, I'm going to CrimeCon. This nutcase showed up as a suggestion to go on my itinerary to go visit. I was like, Jesus, I'm trying to be good. Don't tempt me today. No. Don't get me in the box wine and go meet Dr. Baden.
And I don't agree with that part, but I do agree with the inflammation and sepsis part of his diagnosis. The inflammation and sepsis part of Dr. Regas's diagnosis refers to inflammation in the lung and the finding on culture of bacteria in the lung that could cause pneumonia and sepsis. So I think my cause of death is different than Dr. Regas's in recognizing, in my opinion, that the injuries are all CPR injuries. Nobody can live for more than 2 minutes with a 1.5 inch laceration of the heart, for example. And I do agree that the most likely cause of death is the lung inflammation, the bacterial capture of what the bacteria was, and his symptoms, the symptoms of shortness of breath, cyanosis, means a bluish color due to low oxygen, finding in the hospital that he had an 85% oxygen level, which is very low. All of us here would have about 97% or higher. The high white count, 29,000, mostly polymorphonuclear cells, which are the cells that respond to a bacterial infection. And then what I also base my opinion on is the CAT scan finding of pneumonia also present. So I think all together, the most likely cause of death was a very severe, rapid pneumonia. There are other causes that could also occur. Sudden, unexplained death in children syndrome occurred, like sudden infant death syndrome that causes baby deaths, and it's not clear what the cause of death is.
SIDS. He's not a baby. He's not a baby. Jersey Shore girl, welcome. She said, this trial is going on down the street from me. He literally dropped him off at the hospital, and when he realized things were going south, he didn't just go home to recoup. He went the hell to Tennessee from Jersey.
Same thing with children, 3, 4, 5, 6 years old, can die suddenly, cause of death being the heart stops, and not knowing the reason for that, and that's called sudden unexplained death in children syndrome, which it occurs many hundreds of times a year in this country. And there may be other types of infectious diseases that sometimes don't get caught on autopsies, but they're all infectious diseases, some affecting the lungs. And I just feel that the injuries to the lung, liver, and mostly the heart are just typical vigorous, especially vigorous CPR, which is the very nature of what CPR does. It squeezes the heart 100 times a minute.
I'm going to get into that, Doctor. Did you form an opinion as to the manner of death?
Well, my opinion would be that the manner of death, for all the information that we have, is natural.
Okay. Now, there are 5 manners of death, right?
Yes.
Okay. And natural is one of those 5?
Yes.
So you keep talking about CPR, CPR, CPR. Let's just get to the meat of it. What is CPR?
CPR refers to compression of the chest to force the heart to pump blood. As we sit here, most of us, our heart is pumping blood around 60, 70 times a minute. And that causes a squeezing of the whole heart. If the heart stops and CPR is the only way to get it started again, chest compression, which is severe enough to press on the heart to pump blood, is the only means of keeping the person alive. And that occurs because the sternum, the chest bone, has to be pushed down far enough to squeeze, to touch the heart, to go right up against the heart and squeeze it against the spine bones behind. So every compression during CPR physically squeezes the heart against the spine. And that will then push out the blood, which is essential because if it stops going out, being for 5 or 10 minutes, you wind up with a brain death, so that has to be done, and it's done vigorously, but it can also cause damage. Now, when I was chief medical examiner in New York City, the idea of EMS CPR was developed in New York City, 1979, with the realization that CPR causes damage, but the alternative is the person's going to be dead. So that the risk is always taken that CPR can cause damage to the heart, to the liver, to the lungs, and to bones, fracturing bones and sternum, but that those injuries are compatible with.
Okay, I will say this. CPR, especially in children and elderly people, can cause major damage. Broken ribs, I've heard of fractured sternums. So if one of your relatives or you goes to the ER and you're like, I didn't have all these injuries before, don't be scared to say something about it. However, I have a very hard time believing that CPR and rapid pneumonia killed Corey, especially after we have seen the treadmill video and I'm looking at all of this abuse. In a nutshell, he's saying bruises, that could be from the treadmill, that could be from flag football, that could be with roughhousing with his daddy. I don't know. He's saying tear to the heart, tear to the liver is all from CPR. Holy hell. I wasn't thinking about that. As far as bones broken, we know it's really hard to break a kid's bone. They're like rubber.
Life, whereas if the CPR wasn't done, the person would be dead because of the heart stoppage.
So it's more beneficial than dying.
Yes, the only way to keep it, but depending on how vigorous the CPR is, you get more injury. General studies show that about 60% of CPRs there that don't revive the patient, 60%. So there are injuries. Most of them are bone injuries, fractures, but in about 35% are heart injuries, bruising on the heart. From what I calculated, CPR was done for about 49 minutes. Usually it stopped after about 18, 20 minutes. There was concern about Corey. It was kept up for 49 minutes at 100 compressions a minute, to get the heart pumping blood. So that's over 4,000 impacts that heart had against the sternum and the spine. And it is understandable how these injuries would occur. And that is why my opinion is that what's being described, and I also found it of interest that Dr. Ragazza, when he did the autopsy, refused to put that down on the cause of death. And he includes in the autopsy under heart, question mark CPR, right in the autopsy.
Okay, that was discussed. That's what he brought up. That the other doctor, the forensic pathologist, that brought up the tear in the heart. He's agreeing. You have a tear in your heart, you're not going to live long. He's saying all of this came from rigorous CPR and rapid pneumonia. Now listen, if someone's if someone's trying to save your life and save you from going through the pearly gates too soon, they're not going to say, like Sarah Boone, and go 1, 2, 3, ah! They're not going to do that. They're going to be pumping all their weight on your body to get that heart going. But remember, it takes one dummy. Look around anywhere on the internet. We are not. A couple of years ago, we were in a shortage of toilet paper. We have never been in a shortage of dumbasses on this planet. It only takes one.
Autopsy report on the first day, he was concerned about CPR causing all the heart injuries, and it wasn't until 14 months later that he changed it to homicide. Now,
Do children, like a person of my height, I'm 5'6", about 190 on a good day. Would CPR be done differently to somebody like me than to a child?
Well, yeah, there's a difference in how you do the CPR to persons as they get older. The older we get, the more brittle our bones become and the more breakable they are. And the child like Corey, the ribs are all bendable. They're like cartilage in our ears, and so they're very easy to push down. But the bottom line has to be, it's got to be pushed down about 2 inches down to squeeze the heart against the spine so that it's out of the heart. And if that isn't done, then the heart, and that's done usually until a normal sinus rhythm occurs. And that often happens, especially people in hospitals, that the CPR be done, and usually within 5, 10, 15 minutes, you get a normal pulse back, and then you can stop the CPR because now the heart is going back to pumping blood normally. But if the heart doesn't pump blood normally, it's kept up, and in this situation, it was kept up much longer than usual.
So
And-
you said much longer than usual. What would be normal, what would be usual CPR on a 6-year-old child?
Well, normally, if the heart doesn't respond by developing its own normal sinus rhythm, the CPR will stop. That is, it's fruitless usually after 20 minutes.
And how long was CPR conducted for?
49 minutes.
And that's unusual. Now, can people die from CPR?
Well, not usually, because they're already dead. When the CPR can only be started after the heart stops. So once the heart stops, the person is dead. And then the alternative is, can we revive the heart to start beating again? And CPR sometimes starts the heart again after 5 or 10 minutes. But if it doesn't restart the heart, it becomes of no value afterwards. But it isn't that the CPR caused the death. It's just the fact that the heart does not restart beating that means the person is dead.
Can you explain to the jury how the heart works?
Well, the heart has 4 chambers, as we learned.
Okay, I don't blame the crypt keeper up on the stand for laughing at this, because Goofy Galucci, can you explain to the jury how the heart works? We learned that in 3rd grade. And he's like, oh, well, there's 4 chambers. Even the jury is going, really? Thought you guys were getting Firehouse subs for lunch. I don't want to spend any more time with a lesson like this. Come on.
The blood comes in through a vein into the right atrium, goes down into the right ventricle, and gets pumped up through the lungs. It's an amazing thing. I mean, every time I do an autopsy to see how this is done and how each cell in the body knows where to go is a miracle of the body. But it comes, so it brings back the blood that's used up its oxygen, goes back into the right ventricle, pumps it into the lungs, where the carbon dioxide is removed and oxygen is replaced on the red blood cells. And then it goes into the left atrium and the left ventricle, and that's the workhorse of the heart, the left ventricle, which then pumps the blood to every cell in the body. Every cell in our body gets oxygen all the time, or else they're going to die. So that the left ventricle is the main then after about 5 minutes, without any brain flowing to without any oxygen going to the brain cells start to die. It's amazing. The brain is about 25%. No, the brain uses about 25% of all the oxygen, even though it's about 2% of the weight of the heart. So the brain is the organ that needs oxygen the most. So when the oxygen is cut off from the brain for more than 5 minutes, then brain cells start to die, and they don't rejuvenate. Some cells in the body, like the liver cells, will reform, but not in the brain. Permanent damage. And that's why you wind up sometimes with vigorous CPR that after the brain dies, then the other organs of the body are okay, because if they get oxygen, the heart and all the other organs can do okay with less oxygen. and you wind up with people who wind up in bed and in hospitals for long periods of time, but they're able to be taken care of, but they're unable to function because brain death is permanent.
Now, you spoke about the blood and how it goes in and out and gets reoxygenated and comes on back. Is there like an electrical system that the heart has?
Yeah, well, the electrical system of the heart has.
I'd be so irritated if I was this jury. I'd be like, of course there's an electrical system. We know how the heart works. You don't have to be a cardiologist to understand your heart is important. The question is, how did little Corey get a tear in his? What would weigh in my mind as a juror is when he said, no one is going to live very long with that tear in their heart. Was this from CPR, or when he went back to his dad's house, did the abuse escalate? It can only be a couple of scenarios. It can't be from the treadmill, because he would have been dead fast. Can't be from flag football, because he would have been dead fast. So what is it?
Has to do with the rhythm of the heart. The way the heart functions is that there's an electric circuit, about less than 1%, 98% of the heart is muscle, and about less than 1% is nerves. And the nerves cause the atria and the ventricles to function. If something goes wrong with the atria, you can get atrial fibrillation. And atrial fibrillation means there's something wrong with the electric circuit in the heart, but it's not very important because the ventricles have muscles, organs are all the same. What changes is the chemicals in the blood, the enzymes and the electrolytes and all. There's a change in the chemistry of that. There's a pneumonia present, and I think that was what Dr. Larkin's opinion.
Okay, sorry, y'all. Greg's driving, and I'm trying to skip through the heart part because we don't need to hear a lecture on how important of an organ your heart is. We get it. You don't pay me some money. I'll sit there and go, hey, your heart, you need it. Your liver, you need it. Kidneys, wouldn't trade mine for nothing. Pancreas, oh boy. Brain, real important. Anything else? But this is what they're down to with the defense. And these jurors had all night to think about it. Remember, the defense comes at the end. So that's what's going to be in their brain. That's how humans are. Okay? That's how we are. Sorry. That's how I am anyway. Can't speak for all of you. Everything they've heard the last, month, they've slept, they've eaten, they've been annoyed, they've been bored, all of that stuff. They hear this from someone who they have seen on TV probably their entire lives saying, no, that tear is from CPR. And that infection, he probably picked up at the hospital because hospitals are damn nasty, and it is a rapid pneumonia. There's dumbasses everywhere. I promise there's one on that jury. But can the smart people convince the dumbasses? That's something we deal with every day in life.
Yes, that's what I was referring to.
And what does that mean? What is extensive airspace disease?
Well, that's an indication that that's what pneumonias look like. The air spaces are supposed to be filled only with the air, the alveoli. And when fluid gets into the air spaces, that that causes a pneumonia. So that description that you described, it doesn't prove, but it's indication that there's a pneumonia present. And I think that was what Dr. Larkin's opinion was.
Now, the CAT scan also revealed something called diffuse multifocal alveolar air space. Is that the same thing that we just discussed, or is that something different?
Pretty much the same.
And that is the same, gives you the same indication, right?
Yes.
Now, I don't remember if we went through Dr. Feingold talking about the CAT scan, but I believe we did. Do lungs collapse after death?
No, not initially, not till decomposition sets in. The lungs don't function after death, if the heart stops, so that whatever air or blood is in the lungs stays there. When decomposition sets in, then the bacteria themselves can make changes in the lung that cause other abnormalities in the lung that can be confused with pneumonia. But this CAT scan was done right away before there was any decomposition.
And Dr. Feingold opined that a CAT scan done of the lung after death, that the lung would need to be reinflated in order to get a better view. Is that true?
No, that's not true at all. But I think Dr. Feingold, when Dr. Feingold was training and all, there weren't such a thing as CAT scans. And I think that Dr. Feingold doesn't appreciate that CAT scans are now used and can be very helpful in the autopsy process. And there's a name, digital autopsies are part of what happens at an autopsy nowadays. That wasn't present when she was exposed to autopsies.
Now, in addition to this CAT scan that was done during after Corey's death, during the autopsy, does the medical examiner also go through all of the particular organs in a case?
Yes, the autopsy includes examination of every organ in the body, period.
And that's how we have a lovely picture of the laceration to the heart. Right?
Yes.
So did Dr. Ragasa, the ME who did the autopsy, did he look at the lung?
I'm sorry, I got it.
Take your time.
Yes, he looked at the lungs.
Okay. And during Dr. Ragasa's report, did he find that in the lung he found mild to moderate congestion with occasional mild peribronchial, non-specific, acute, and chronic inflammation?
Yes.
And can you tell the jury what that means?
Well, acute inflammation means fresh infection in the area. And that's what he put, that's the only place he uses the word acute inflammation. And he puts that in the cause of death. On his cause of death, he first gives the injuries to the heart, lungs, liver, and then says acute inflammation and sepsis is the second part of his autopsy findings. I agree with the acute inflammation and sepsis being the Staphylococcus bacteria that he identified. I think that part I agree with, but I think the first part is all made during CPR after the child died.
Okay. What is sepsis?
Sepsis is an infection through the body.
So in addition to the CAT scan, in addition to Dr. Ragasa's findings of the actual lung itself, were there any other studies that were ordered by Dr. Ragasa with respect to the autopsy, such as a culture?
Well, what Dr. Ragasa did at the time of the autopsy is he took a culture of the lung. And the only reason he would do that is he wanted to find the organism that was causing the inflammation in the lung, the pneumonia is a form of inflammation. And he did that, and the culture, if it's not done properly, can contain lots of bacteria, but when you have just the one bacterium present, that's evidence that it was a proper culture, and that's the only organism that was causing the inflammation in the lung.
So now, during an autopsy, we know that there's going to be a dissection, right?
Yes.
We know that the medical examiner is going to pull out each and every organ and examine it and weigh it, take a picture of it, right?
Yes.
Is a lung culture normally done on every single autopsy?
No.
When would a lung culture be done?
If the medical examiner is trying to identify the agent causing the inflammation.
So the lung culture, what did it show?
The lung culture showed Staph aureus as the bacteria that was present in the lung that Dr. Ragasa went to the trouble to take a sample of.
What is Staph aureus?
It's one of the common drugs around that when it causes infection in children can lead to serious consequences, but it's around us all the time.
Would a blood culture be good at finding pneumonia?
Blood cultures, in people who have pneumonia, blood cultures find the bacterium about 5% of the time. So blood cultures used to be widely used when I was in medical school, but are not so widely used. And some hospitals have stopped doing blood cultures at all because it's positive in a very small percentage of the cases, and it itself can lead to a lot of extraneous diagnoses and work if it's incorrect.
So then a lung culture was ordered because it would be the best way to determine whether or not there was actually any bacteria or disease or infection to the lung?
In the bloodstream.
Now, besides the CAT scan that showed pneumonia, and besides the actual looking at the lung that showed signs of infection, and besides the lung culture, we're good?
Well, that question confused the shit out of him. Now, let's reel it in. Debbie had a really good question. Well, why did they perform CPR in the first place? It's not like he went in there with a cough, a cold, and a fever, and like he woke up and just wasn't feeling good, and Monster Dad took him to the ER and said, look, he's not feeling good. No. He was lethargic. He was unresponsive. And this is after being in the care of his father. Yes, Bree did take him back to his father. Bree did not kill her son. Another very important thing I hope the jury really thinks about. These unexplained bruises, bites on the head, bites on the arm, all of these things did not happen while in the care of Bree and her mother. And they both have been vilified in this trial, in my opinion. It's really been upsetting to watch. This was a public post made today on the Justice for Corey page. It was a little hard not to instantly bawl when you see it. Justice for Corey. One day, Corey asked me why his dad didn't love him. How do you answer a 6-year-old that asked that? All I could say to him was, I love you enough for the both of us, buddy. Can't wait for you to rot in hell, Christopher. Can't wait for you to rot in hell. You were resentful of your son. You weren't the shining golden boy to your family anymore because you have a child of wedlock. Remember, he was not in his life for the majority of his life. Bruises came into the picture. Through them. We got it. She certainly didn't throw him back on a treadmill. That because Christopher Gregor was more concerned about being stuck with the bill than caring for his son, because he called her to get the insurance card before he even took his son for medical help. Are you kidding me? And if you go back on the playlist, if one of the mods can put it in here, this is explained by both Bree and her mother, Rebecca, years ago, about 3 years ago on our playlist. Actually, I'm going to put this one in there today too. All right, guys. Well, sorry that we are off schedule this week. As you know, I am on vacation with my husband and my cat. But keep your reminders on, because later this afternoon we have a second show. I want to talk about the foul play that has recently been discovered in another case. And in this case, a name we're very familiar with is involved. Probably won't take you guys very long to figure out what I'm talking about. But in the meantime, get back to work, get busy, drink your coffee, eat your breakfast, whatever you got going on. And I'll see you over in Discord. I was a chatty Cathy in there yesterday. See you in the Facebook group or whatever. Just look for the announcement. You guys are the absolute best. I'll see you back here in a few hours. Me love you. I love you.